recognize what this is? Okay, this was a shawl that was given to me when I went to tell Father Rich that I had lymphoma. Okay, that was probably one of the scariest, most awful days of my life. And I wore this shawl as I got well. And I tell you, I have a lot of belief in this shawl. I don't know who made it, but their hands were blessed. And it was part of my healing. So I know our church does good things in giving these out. I will witness to that. Yeah. I change hats for shawls. Anybody recognize what kind of shawl this is? A dancing shawl. Yeah. When I go to powwows. Okay, it would be traditional. I could still be wearing my blue jeans, but it would be traditional if I wanted to get out there and dance. You know, I wear my dancing shawl. If any of you get an opportunity, go to a powwow. It's a nice way to bridge maybe what you think is a gap. Okay, it's a joyous, happy occasion. And you'll see people from many tribes at powwows. I think, personally, you could say this is a happy shawl because you can dance in it. But yeah, I think I could dance in this too. Okay, do the dance of life, as I would call them. So I'm very grateful I have two types of shawls. I feel very blessed that I can walk in both worlds. It's not always easy, and sometimes it's downright hard. I can remember one woman telling me at a job I had that I was a city Indian and didn't know anything about living on the res. And I told her very calmly, she was native. I said, well, you know, it's true. I didn't live on the res as a child, but my dad still taught me. I said, I have lived on the res since then on Pine Ridge. That kind of surprised her, took her back. And then I said, you know what? My parents have taught me that we are all human beings and that all of you are my brothers and sisters. When we say the prayer, and please forgive me, I am not a Lakota language expert, but I tried to pick up some of the words that were lost in our family. A lot of times, the traditional way, Episcopal way, is amen. Okay, we say Mitakuwa Omiase, which means to all my, and for all my relatives, to all my relatives. Okay, and that's a way of us, again, bonding, acknowledging that we are all human beings. There are times when even intellectually it's very difficult, because there are times I think of doing things the Lakota way, and there are times I think of doing things the mainstream way. All right? Now, I had some of you, and it doesn't matter who it was, but kind of look at me this morning when I came around to shake your hand. All right? In traditional Lakota, I would shake every person's hand in this room, and I will probably do so at the end. Because we extend a warm Lakota handshake. Some people are comfortable with that, some people aren't. If I had been a man, I would have brought you in and seated you, because that's part of the Lakota tradition at a gathering, a meeting, or whatever you would call it. Okay? But I feel really lucky because I have all this knowledge, and it's exciting to me, and it's fun to share it with people. Unfortunately, not everyone is so open and willing to share. But you know what? If you ask questions, you'll be surprised how much knowledge you can gain from other people in other cultures. There are still barriers. Remember our police officers we lost this last summer? Boy, it wasn't just about police officers being shot. It was about the young man who shot them. And a lot of people worried in the city, are we going to have a flare-up of racial tensions? As a Lakota person, and this is me, I don't speak for all, but the man who shot those police officers he did wrong, period. It didn't matter what color his skin. It did matter in the sense that he had a very terrible background. I would like to see us to bring up people better overall, so they never get placed in that spot. But he did wrong. Did I go and honor the police officers that have been killed? You bet. And there were other people from reservations who came from all over to honor. Okay? But it shows that we have not gotten rid of, quote, the problem. We have to open our hearts, build bridges, extend handshakes to everyone. And to me, it goes beyond just Lakota people, but to everyone. I think that's really, really important. So I would like to challenge you in the sense that I would like you to learn in the Lakota way of opening your heart, speaking from your heart. I think most of you do this anyway, so this isn't a real big challenge. Extending a handshake. I would like to challenge you to realize that there are a lot of people who live right around here who are Native American, yet they don't come to church here. And I don't know how we get them to come to church here. But it doesn't hurt to invite, it doesn't hurt to have a dialogue with people. You know, sometimes we have to take baby steps, either for ourselves or with someone else. But the little more baby steps that you take and they take towards you, the faster those things are going to happen. Yeah, this will seem funny, but I know that some people, and I hope it is no people at our church, but I know that by exposing myself as being Lakota may change their thinking of me. And that's okay, because I am still who I am. And I will still welcome and try to love people regardless. But that happens. That is a risk that some Lakota people feel if they take that, it's scary. Because you don't know what you can get hit with in the process. But I would like to go back to say we are very strong people. Unlike the broken arrow in this book, we're alive and well. And I hope friendly. And I hope outgoing. And at this point, I would like to let you ask questions. Because I think that's how you start to build bridges. Yes?
Lyn, where on the Cheyenne did you come from?
My dad lived in Dupree, South Dakota.
I'm from Mobridge.
Mobridge, okay.
And I have an idea we're of similar age. I graduated from Mobridge High School, and there was one Native American girl in my class, which was so sad.
Yes.
And she went on to college. She became a nurse and had a successful life. She was probably one of the first. And it said a lot about racism, but it said a lot about the development of the Cheyenne people to realize they can be accepted in the outside world. So I'm glad that you have the education for you to share with us.
Yeah, I think sometimes we have that misconception, especially if you don't live someplace. Because you know people on an everyday basis, that sometimes, I mean, we still have tremendous problems in the sense that even here in Rapid City, our Native American youth are not graduating high school like I truly would like them to do. But there are a lot of very talented, well-educated Native Americans who are out there and who have taken those extra steps. Part of it, I think, is building hope for young people. The one thing I always felt so frustrating on Pine Ridge was so many kids who, they didn't have hope. Pretty sad story to be 15 or 16 years old and not have hope. You know, part of our job as elders, you mentioned age, I'm not sure you're an elder yet, because that's a whole different story. Well, in the sense that that is a very respected tradition, and you can't run around calling yourself an elder, okay? But part of our job as older and wiser people, hopefully, is to open those doors and help those young kids and help mentor them and say, it's okay, you can still be who you are. Let's just open some more doors together.
ABC, the television program that showed how terrible it was down on Pine Ridge.
Yes.
And then the students at Rosewood decided to tell, hey, it's not like that, no, not all of us are that. I thought that was very brave.
Yes, and I applaud their efforts, because the picture's always grim. And unless you've lived there, unfortunately, we fall victim to pictures that other people paint for us with their words. But if you go and live there, Pine Ridge to me is one of the most beautiful places on earth. It's got some incredible scenery. But on the flip side, there are some tough problems down there. I'll tell you, I lived 10 years on there, and I knew at the end of 10 years, I had to make a life decision change. I had to get out for a while because it can drag you down. It's tough living with poverty all the time. It's tough living with some of the problems that do exist. Will I go back someday? Quite possibly. Because I still consider part of all that is part of my home too. But I was really happy to see those Pine Ridge students who volunteered. Yes?
I've grown up in Rapid City and lived here my whole life and went to school with many Native Americans. Had a close association growing up because we hired people in these big labor groups. One of the things, and then I've been in the construction industry for many years. But one of the things that I was wondering that if anybody ever makes an effort to get the Native American people who are successful in our communities to do a concerted conversation with young people, those kids that are going to school. I've never, I listen a lot when they talk about, building these bridges and all that, but I don't see many of the Native American contractors who are getting special, or were, I don't know, I'm out of the business now, I'm retired. But at one time they got, because they were minorities, so they got special, when bids were let, they got some special discounts and so on and so forth. But I've never seen any of them come forward and speak to young people in the Native American populations and kind of encourage them. I've never seen anybody that kind of drew them together and said,
That
okay.
happened in the school district. They had an Office of Indian Education, and they tried to bring people.
Do they?
I've visited schools many times myself, and I know Paul has, and other members of the community. It depends on the school and whatever teacher is the interest. So it is being done in our market.
I think it would be helpful if those people in our community who have that Native American background stood up and said more about it. They tend to be pretty quiet there because I think, to begin with, they're shy people.
I don't know if shy is the right word. It's a different form of respect. Like right now, I'm looking you in the eyes, and a lot of times, if I perceive that you were older than me especially, I would not look you directly in the eyes. And that's out of respect. It's not because I'm bashful, but that would be out of respect. Now think for a minute, when you're in a different culture, that may mean something else. Maybe when I'm looking at the side of Richard and talking, that Richard's becoming uncomfortable saying, why doesn't she look at me? Why doesn't she look at me? Instead of thinking, wait a minute, this is a cultural difference. Not good, not bad, it just is. Okay? And also part of, I think your idea is wonderful. People are working on it. You have reconciliation going on. I don't know if any of you have ever gone to a reconciliation meeting. Okay? People also have very old wounds. And it's hard. It's hard to get up and be vulnerable in front of a group of people. I'm not sure all of you would like to stand up here just talking to begin with. But there's always that fear that someone's going to now treat you maybe a little bit different. Okay, because I've seen it. I've experienced racism. I've experienced racism on both sides because I'm not dark enough.
That's
I don't have the right blood quantum, which is a government thing that drives me nuts. I think too, though, I can say, when I joined this church, Pamela Barnett and we went to Pennington County Prison, and we worked with the young women there. Most of them were young women who were incarcerated, and we did a self-esteem class with them. Okay? I would say 85 to 90% of the women we talked to were Native American. It broke my heart to see so many powerful young women who had gone down the wrong road and were there primarily because of drugs or alcohol. And I'll tell you, there's one young lady that I keep looking for every Sunday, thinking maybe when she's done her time, she's going to come to this church. Because I really tried with a lot of those women. And granted, some of them, it probably went in one ear and out the other. But others, I felt I made a connection. And I hope, I may not see that connection, but maybe she'll go to an Episcopal church somewhere else. So there are times I think many of us do get out there and put ourselves on the line and try to continue help. And we can all do it more. It's not just me going out, it's you coming too.
One of the things I learned, and I'm not from here, but when I went to work, I had never really lived around Native Americans. And so when I went to work for the school district, my appearance was not one that would be real accepting. And I became a very, very good friend with a principal who was a Native American, and she was the most fabulous person ever. And to this day, we are friends. But she would kind of guide me, like, be careful.
Yeah.
You can't do this, even though you think it's everything I was looking at through a rose-colored glass. But I learned from children.
Yes.
I was talking to these kids, and I would get around this kid, and I keep trying to make eye contact, and finally say, "This is sweet. I'm listening, but I can't look at you."
Yeah.
And I've been trying and felt like I'm just not getting through because I wanted to have that eye contact. And it was wonderful learning from me.
Kids are not so shy. Yes, sir.
Probably one of the biggest differences in races, as we know in South Dakota, is economics.
Yes.
It makes a lot of difference. I spent 18 years in Flagler at the school. And the thing was that when we first moved there, the Indians were treated with very little respect. They got gambling into the town, and now all of the Indians have some money. And I go back there and I find a lot of difference in the respect that people have. So don't kid yourself, economics is a much
It's
bigger
huge.
factor than we
Yes.
think.
Yes, oftentimes I think that is the biggest factor that creates its own mess. Yeah, I agree. Well, one time I went to California and I talked with a lot of teachers that I had taught with at one time. And I shared that I was working with the reservation schools, and it was really interesting because some of these people didn't know my background, and they said, yeah, those Indians, all they get is casinos, and then that's, they were upset about this whole casino idea, and I kind of had to step back and go, wait a minute, again, I see it for two different worlds, and it was like, how do I explain to people, maybe this is an economic opportunity. May not be the economic opportunity I would have chosen, but it's doing something for a lot of people. And maybe from there we can do some other things, but yeah, it was kind of interesting because they were all ready to, fight because those casinos were being taxed and all that stuff. And we just thought, wait a minute. So always find you have interesting conversations. Yes, sir.
Yeah, comment, I was fortunate to spend a year down, living in Pine Ridge in 1970 and 71. I was a physician down there. And at that time, the fledgling mental health program, for about 68 to 70, they conducted a study of the folks on the reservation. And it was, it may still be the biggest demographic study done anywhere, because they used Indian interviewers, about 24 people who were, they're all from the res, they lived there all the time, and they went around and interviewed 10% of the population on the Pine Ridge Reservation. And they gathered all manner of details of statistics, the statistics of the numbers of all the different kinds of problems, family problems, wife beatings, alcoholism, you name it, and employment histories, the whole works. The main thing that came out of that study was that when jobs were available, the rates of all the bad stuff went down, including alcoholism and family violence and all those things. When jobs are not available, the rates of all the problems go up. It's as plain as day, and you can go into any community of any people anywhere in the world.
Exactly.
One of the, there's not a really big worldwide study about values in all sorts of different cultures. I think at the time they didn't get into many communist cultures, but everywhere else still is in the communist, what were communist countries. The most important things to human beings are fairness and an opportunity to work. You can go anywhere. That's human beings. And I think that applies to any situation.
I have a point. During the time period that Don was talking about, when we have that poster board up, I have a copy of that report. And I want you to notice the title, and it will be bound and you'll see it. It's very interesting. It's similar to, well, you'll see. But I like that Bill yours.
But I think economics is it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Any other questions? Well, I would like to thank you today for coming to here. I don't know everything, please, about Lakota culture. I don't present myself as a person who does know everything, and I can't speak for everyone. It's very important that you understand that, because other people have other things they can share, but hopefully I have opened a door, a crack. Maybe you'll think of inviting other people as you see them. Maybe you'll have a little bit different. You're welcome. And anytime I would like to share, and I will tell you, there are a few things that I may not share, okay? And that's okay too. It's like some of us have cultural traditions that we can't share. But most, 99% of the time, I can share, okay? Just like you probably have something you really wouldn't want to tell me. Like how you ran naked when you were 4 outside. I don't know. Yeah, we all have those. We all have those. So it's not being disrespectful. See, you admitted it. It's not being disrespectful.
I have a report about that.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very, very much. And I would like to again use the term. And if I'm not saying this properly in Lakota, I'm always open to learning. But we talk about Oyase. We are all relatives.
Deborah Jones, and the Sunday will be May 6th, and she will be speaking about stained glass across the state of South Dakota. So
Yeah.
put that on your calendar, Sunday, May 6th.
And